And as we'll discuss later, we also had a courageous postal worker come out and say, hey, look, I saw and heard the scheme from the Postmaster General's office for Western Pennsylvania, about 156 post offices, that involved backdating ballots. What? The Washington Post wrote a smear piece yesterday trashing this guy, saying he gave false information, that he was going to withdraw what he had said under oath. And he put out a video, which we will play. I sent it to you. Do you have it, Mr. Producer? Cut 10. He put out a video. I might as well do it now. The Washington Post wrote a piece, just a smear piece, saying he recanted. He said, I didn't recant anything. Now, the Postmaster General's office and others have been pressuring him. You can imagine the threats that he's receiving because his name is known. Richard Hopkins. Takes guts to come forward in this country under this environment. But he put out a video. And here's what he said. Cut 10, go.
Richard Hopkins. I am the postal employee who came out and whistle blew on the Erie, PA Postal Service postal office. I am right at this very moment looking at an article written by Washington Post. It says that I fabricated the allegations of ballot tampering. I'm here to say that I did not recant my statements. That did not happen. That is not what happened. And you will find out tomorrow. And I would like that the Washington Post recant their wonderful little article that they decided to throw out there.
Now, this is shocking that a major newspaper, the Washington Post in Washington, D.C., read by all the politicians and bureaucrats and all the fancy lawyers, would flat out lie about this man and smear him. We had a so-called whistleblower who was a Biden apparatchik in the White House, whose name we were not allowed to say, but we said it many times, whose identity was not to be revealed on any news platform in America except the Blaze and the Daily Caller and Breitbart and entities like that. But none of the others. Not once on cable, not once on networks, not once on satellite. And he was used to try and bring down a president of the United States. Impeachment. He triggered the impeachment move. Completely bogus, all phony. Doesn't matter, that's what he did. And they protected him as a whistleblower, and they told us on and on, protect the whistleblower. You know, these whistleblowers, they give us lectures all the time while they're trying to destroy our country. Here we have a man who's come forward. He's a whistleblower. And what does the Washington Post do? They defame him and smear him, try to undermine his legitimacy, not just to the public, but to the court. That's what we're getting from the media today. With a guy running around with the office of president-elect that doesn't even exist, giving press briefings, which he wouldn't do when he was running for office. All of a sudden, the virus is no longer a threat to Joe Biden. He's everywhere, isn't he, Mr. Producer? All of a sudden, he's not wearing his mask so much. Because he's in charge. In charge of what? He's no authority whatsoever. Taking credit for the vaccine, taking credit for the distribution of the vaccine. Guy's ready to reinstitute the Iran deal. Just think about this. He wants to go back to the climate change agreement, which is going to slaughter us. And the Chinese are smiling every step of the way. He wants to go back to the World Health Organization, where we pay $500 million that lied to us about this virus. So that's what we're getting in Joe Biden. More of the same, and we'll get radicalism as well. He's already said he wants to give, he wants to clear the debt, the college students that have debt. Well, that's going to get expensive. He's on the move, but he doesn't have any power yet. He specifically said during the first presidential debate that he wouldn't declare victory unless the election is independently certified. By whom? Let's listen to that. Hat tip, Breitbart, cut one, go.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since at the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process.
I'll tell you why, pal. Because it's the military. It's not run through these corrupt Democrat machines and operations in the cities. And you know that damn well because you had lawyers litigating in these cities and in these states to take these safeguards away. And that's the question. That's the question that a single newsman or host has asked. Why did the Democrat Party and Biden and their surrogates litigate to lift these security measures like signatures, signature comparisons, and postal dates? Why did they do that? Now, as for that point, there was a great piece, August 5, 2020, by the great Paul Bedard. He's actually a reporter. And the headline was, at the Washington Examiner, developed countries ban mail-in voting, U.S. would be laughingstock. More developed countries, especially in Europe, ban mail-in voting to fight vast fraud and vote buying that had threatened the integrity of their elections, according to an exhaustive review of voting rules and histories in over 30 major nations. In the European Union, 63% have put a ban on mail-in ballots, except for citizens living overseas. Another 22% have imposed a ban even for those overseas. And most of those that allow mail-in ballots require some form of photo ID. This is why the Democrats are in court, not only photo ID, eliminating signatures. And one of these reports was provided by a great group, the Crime Prevention Research Center. John Lott, he's terrific. These countries have learned the hard way about what happens when mail-in ballots aren't secured. They have also discovered how hard it is to detect vote buying when both those buying and selling the votes have an incentive to hide the exchange. I certainly hope Supreme Court justices are listening to this show, because they have got to enforce the federal Constitution or nobody else can. And they're going to be dragged into this muck. They're going to be viewed as political if they don't stand up for the Constitution, and they're going to lose whatever credibility is left. And should the Democrats take 2 seats in Georgia, the Supreme Court won't matter anyway. They're going to burn it down. So I hope they're paying attention. While politicians in the U.S. have been debating the pros and cons of mail-in voting due to concerns of spreading COVID-19 at the polls, and new reports of Postal Service and vote counting issues, Lott, whose center is known for its gun research, built a voting database of the European Union and the larger Organization for Economic Cooperation in Development Countries. Those countries, Lott said, are typically held up by Democrats as a model to follow. Well, then follow the model. The report, titled, "Why Do Most Countries Ban Mail-in Ballots? They've Seen Massive Vote Fraud Problems," listed the rules for voting in widespread cases of fraud and vote buying. His report also listed notable cases of fraud in the United States. Now, if you even direct somebody to look at links by reputable news outlets or reputable opinion outlets on Facebook or Twitter today, you will be censored. The article I just read to you could be censored or wind up with some kind of a warning were you to post it, I should say, on Facebook or Twitter, because of the censorship that's taking place in this country. State cites smooth election despite Trump's baseless claims. Why aren't AP and the New York Times analyzing the lawsuits that have been filed, looking at the affidavits that have been filed under penalty of perjury? It's because they're used to having anonymous sources where there's no penalties. You know, finding some low-level hack, the Department of HS, and using him as a foil for a book, for an op-ed. The corrupt media in this country is helping to destroy this republic. And in the end, they will destroy themselves. I'll be right back.